Ornstein Bumba. Ornstein just tweeted. United are working on a deal for Ruben Amorim.
Oh.
Literally a minute ago.
Interesting.
So here's your answer, Nobbins. That's
Okay.
it.
That would be
Amorim.
That would be very, very interesting because he is a manager who does have a clear identity and he's and a clear outlook from a coaching tactical perspective. So that could be really interesting, to be honest. Yeah, that's really good. I know he's been. I know that allegedly he was linked with a potential future move to City. I don't know how concrete that was, but obviously, potentially City are interested in him in the future. So yeah, that would be potentially a great shout, to be honest.
I mean, back to United, double A. I mean, Ruben Amorim, if that's the new manager, if that gets announced, how happy are you as that as the long-term replacement of Erik ten Hag?
I think you have to be happy. I think he's a name that's been mentioned in, for potential jobs. I think it was at Chelsea before Maresca. I think at Liverpool as well. He was linked with, and then obviously, like saying, City it sounds like they were lining him up to replace Pep. So it's a name that's been on a lot of people's, especially in the Premier League. You only see him linked to moves to the Premier League. I think he's done fantastic over at Sporting over a number of seasons. Be interesting to see how he fits in at Manchester United with the way he wants to play. That he does play at the 3-5 at the back. So it'll be interesting to see what he wants to do in the Premier League. But for me, he's number 2 on my list. Personally, Nagelsmann was my number 1, 100%. I know how difficult that might be to get him out of Germany. But he would be the one I would chase. And, looking at Amorim, I mean, straight away, it screams that's a name you want. He's not that. He's the up and coming. But then again, we had that with Ten Hag. Ten Hag was the up and coming next big thing over at Ajax. So we've kind of done that. It's just, again, I can only imagine and trust that INEOS have done more due diligence than the Glazers and Murta and Arnold ever would, to be honest with you. They probably saw a name and just went for it straight away without doing any reference checks or anything. So, yeah, I think it's a brilliant name. I'm smiling at that because I think that's perfect because, looking at the Xavi links and even trying to throw Ollie back in the mix and stuff like that was not worrying me, but straight away you're thinking, are we really that deep in the mud that it's Ollie Gunnar Solskjaer coming back? But yeah, Amorim for me, mate, that makes perfect sense. And again, a project manager you would hope for, and given, you have to give it.
Eric's just left Double A, and look how you're celebrating and talking about other guys. This is disgusting.
I've had the champagne on ice. I've had the champagne on ice for 18 months, bro. I've had it, bro. I've got messages. Don't go too hard on the champagne. People know I've been looking forward to this day for a long time, and it's not a case of. I'm a United fan that doesn't want to sack managers all the time. I'd love to have a Pep or a Klopp, but they are the new Fergie. These managers that stay 6-7 years, that is 26 years now in today's game. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't happen. The cycles.
Where's Eric 6 years, mate? Where's Eric 6 years?
Yeah, the thing is though, Double A, you know this as well as I do. Look, I love Manchester United. I live in Manchester for a long time. An amazing place. One of the reasons we're never getting another Fergie is that the modern day head coach is not trained to run a football club. They are trained to coach the first team. And as they get more experience, they can have input elsewhere. No other club in the world at the elite end of the spectrum is built how Man United were under Fergie, how Forest were under Clough, how Liverpool were under Paisley and Shankly. There is a club plan, and the head coach is essentially plug and play. It's why Slaughter started so well at Liverpool. It's why Flick has been able to go into Barcelona, and it's a continuation. It isn't right. Flick's in. It's a brand new plan, and we have no idea which of our players he's going to like or get rid of. That there should be a kind of process to it. So yeah, I like the links. Almiron is someone that I really I do like him. I've watched him at his team. I've watched Sporting a number of times. I like how they play. Listen, if he could, maybe we have to buy him, right? But if he could get Højlund anywhere close to looking like Gyökeres, then I'm a happy guy. And that's the exciting bit for me when it comes to them coming in. I know our squad's a bit of a Frankenstein squad. I know we need new players and I know we need to improve it. But I do not believe this squad is a 14th. I don't believe it's a 10th place. I think it's could easily be inside that top 6 in terms of squads now, in terms of overall quality. And I think a competent coach with a solid system will demonstrate that to people. Now, we know we need still over the next 2 or 3 summers, easily we need a new 10, 12 players coming into this squad. and we're all aware of it. Nobody thinks we're perfect, but yeah, I'm excited about this, and I'd love Amorim to come in. David, from your point of view, Amorim, a good appointment for Man United if that deal happens?
I mean, I guess, but like, I feel like you're kind of picking from the litter. I can't lie. I think, if I'm being very honest, you should have done this 4 weeks ago, and you should have got Thomas Tuchel. That's what you should have done. That would have been the smartest thing United could do. But ultimately, they wanted to wait 4 weeks to see if Ten Hag could turn the magical bus around, and it didn't happen. So now I just feel like
you gotta. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but you gotta remember, in the summer they actually held 2 advanced meetings with Tuchel, and they decided not to get him. So at some point there was a disagreement on something. I don't know what it is, but he was the only one that they had advanced talks with in the summer. So you can already tell that ship has sailed. Even forget the fact that he's now with England, obviously.
Yeah, obviously, like for me, I just look at your squad, and this is why, like, Kunle was giving me grief for the chat earlier because like Staffy was quoting "Dreams and Nightmares," one of my favorite songs, and I was just joining it in because I was like, I get why they're happy because I was there. Like, people remember Depressed David on the Terrace like 3 years ago. It was a struggle, and I don't like seeing people in that way. It's tough, but I'm just not worried because I look at your squad and I go like, who's even going to make this work anyway? Because you got rid of the Glazers making people make footballing decisions who weren't football, but then you brought in INEOS, and then you've done the same thing. So am I really
but David, though, you're an intelligent guy, and I know you're an intelligent guy because I know what you do for a living. I did a reference for you. I know what you did for a living, right? Smart kid, right? Love you to bits. Generally, great parents, love you. But we are doing things differently. Now, I understand that people look at the delay of sacking this manager and go, well, that's a Glazer-esque move. I don't know whether it is yet. I think we've got to keep our powder dry on this. We've hired for the first time in the club's history football decision makers that out after the Fergie era. Even things like the cost-cutting element. I'm sick and tired of the media and rivals trying to make it sound like, oh, we've got broke billionaire owners. They don't know what they're doing. They're cheap asses. We have been laughed at for 17 years for losing money, overspending, and operating in a ridiculously expansive way. There's so many things we're doing differently. The owners have put plans in place for a new 100,000-seater stadium and to regenerate the area. I think all of these elements indicate different behavior to what we have seen in the previous 17 years from the Glazers. So I'm not saying they've been perfect. I'm not saying that they've got everything right so far. But what gives me, and it is hopium, so before people start throwing that in, is there's so many elements. And I'd love to throw this at Double A because you're in Manchester, and to anyone who's outside the UK, when you do live in the town that a club's in, you hear a lot more about what's going on because people work for the local authorities. They work at the football club. They're around it. Is there a different feeling about the club now that INEOS are there? Or is it like David said, is it very much the same?
No, I think the fact you don't hear the Glazers out anymore. I think in the stadium, I think we heard it the first game, I think, or maybe. But I think there's now not an acceptance is the wrong word to use, but there's a patience with the fans, I think, to wait because the end game we all know has to be the Glazers have to go. And one thing I'm very critical of the Glazers is they are a friend of my enemy is my enemy in my eyes, and they have got into bed with the Glazers, which for me is one of the worst things you can do. But I'm happy to give them.
Sorry. Breaking news from Plattenberg. Ruben Amorim has verbally agreed to become the new Manchester United manager. So, again, I'm going to say this as well, David. Every other time we've hired a new manager, it has been death by 1,000 cuts and taken about sometimes 2 or 3 months to get it over the line. The fact that this looks like it's done almost already, from a content creator's point of view, that's 3 or 4 days of not being able to speculate. That's annoying, right? But Plattenberg has now said that verbal agreement is now in place between Ruben Amorim and Manchester United. Sorry, back to you, Double A.
No, good. Listen, Adam, mate, if they're moving this fast already to get a manager at that level, it just goes to show the patience. I think there's patience with the fans. The only thing I can attest to is that we want to see them moving in the right way. And I agree with what you're saying, Terry. In certain ways, they're moving correctly in ways. They've done things like, you look at the summer, like they said, they were walking to decisions rather than running. Whether you think them decisions are right or not, Xerxes or with Euro or with, especially with Agate, I think they were walking to these and not running to them.
He managed Ugarte, by the way. Just a good reminder.
Yeah, another thing for United fans, Bruno as well. To be fair, so
I don't think he managed Bruno. Bruno left the year he took over.
Apparently, he does like him though.
Fuck off! What's KJ doing here? What are you doing, KJ? What are you
KJ,
doing?
you were gonna join.
Amorim, baby. Let's fucking go. Who are you rivals, man? You guys preying on our downfall? Suck it.
All I'm gonna say, you again. I've seen this book. I saw this 2 years ago. God, we got Ten Hag. We're back. Do you know? I'm just saying.
Can I say something?
Go on, Staffy. Go on, Staffy.
Because I haven't spoken about it. Go ahead.
All I'm gonna say is right. I'm not saying Amorim is bad. I'm not, because I think he will improve you. Because I think you can't get any worse. However, if you really wanted him, you would have got him in the summer. That's what I'm going to say. If you guys were planning,
David, that ain't necessarily true though. But that ain't necessarily true. And this is David. I know you're being salty, right? But this is where I disagree with you. Sometimes in life you can't rush into decisions, and when I'm going to be very condescending now. When you get older and you get into more senior positions within your work, you were going to be taught this. One of the first things, one of my mentors, when I went into a senior leadership position at Barclays Bank, they said to me, I was going into a new department and there were some problems in it. And the advice they gave me, and this is a shorter scale because it's a much smaller operation, like a little department within Barclays, but they said, make no big decisions in the first month you're here. I want you to, they said, go in, listen, absorb, make friends with people, make relationships. The first person you meet who seems like an amazing person might turn out to be the biggest snake in the grass. The person who you first meet you think's an idiot might turn out to be your biggest asset. Sit back and learn and absorb before making really big sort of decisions. And sometimes you have to come in and sit back. Sometimes you have to give someone like a Ten Hag enough rope to metaphorically hang himself so that, I don't know, maybe he's got half the dressing room that supports him. And you think, if we move him out now, half this dressing room is going to be against the new manager the second he walks in, like Tuchel at Bayern Munich, as an example. We've heard all these stories come out about Chelsea, about players not happy that Tuchel left. And then they went to Potter. And just as they're getting used to him, they go to Lampard. You've got to learn from other people's mistakes. So I know on the surface, it looked a mistake to not get rid of him straight away. And I've said that. But this is why I've said all along, I'm keeping my powder dry on INEOS. Let's see how this new appointment works out. Let's see how quickly we improve and what the success of this looks like. I think before we start making overarching judgments of, if you really wanted him, you'd have got him in the summer. I get your point as a rival, but I'm pushing back against it and defending my club.